welcome to Wolf Farms. I'm Dawn, also known as Knittin' Wolf.
And I'm James, also known as Wolf Photo. This podcast is brought to you by Wolf Farms. You can find us on the internet at wolffarms.net. We're rolling into a new month of March, so we have a new scent of the month that you can get 25% off in our shop. And the new scent is Coconut Lime Verbena. So you can get everything 25% off that is in that fragrance. So the candles, here, gotta do the smell-o-vision stuff. Doesn't that smell good? Our soaps, lotions, bath salts, the works. You get 25% off this month, and there are other sale items in the shop that you might find interesting. So swing on by, check that out. I'm sure you'll appreciate that. Welcome to new and returning viewers. Thanks for joining us today. So what do we got on tap for this episode?
This episode includes farm happenings, lots and lots of farm happenings. In the coop, picking on the farm, flown the coop, squeal like a pig in the arena, and roundup.
Yeah, we were talking ahead of time that this is going to be a long podcast. This is a lot of stuff to cover in one little episode, but
stuff we haven't mentioned for a month.
It just seemed like it all fell into this episode,
so grab a cup of tea or coffee or your beverage of choice, and
we'll get started here. So let's hop on into farm happenings, right? So that is you've got something missing off the.
I know, I didn't print. I'm like, whoa.
Did you print and not put it on the?
I must not have synced.
We've been updating the notes this morning, and apparently something didn't get on there. But I know what it is, so we're good. We can keep moving forward. First thing I wanted to start off with the Blip. We had mentioned that a couple episodes back that Blip was discontinuing their feed to things outside of YouTube. And so they weren't allowing other.
That sounded confusing. They're not pushing to iTunes.
They're not pushing. Well, I was going to explain what's going on. It's basically the way it works is they were hosting the files, and iTunes was referencing where they were stored at Blip, and so iTunes would just be a pointer to that file. And then what Blip was doing is cutting off other sites from referencing that file, and so that you can't pull them without hosting it somewhere. So that's basically what happened. So iTunes was probably the big player, which was driving a lot of traffic on their site, I'm assuming. I'm making a lot of assumptions about why they would do something like that. I mean, it kind of makes sense in some sense, but, they've kind of established themselves based on that. So now they're kind of cutting away with it. Whole other thing. But that being said, we actually got our, I mentioned that we're going to self-host our podcast. So I've got that all set up and configured. We were able to get things moved off of Blip over to ours. When that happened in iTunes, basically all our historical episodes got wiped out. And then we started back at episode 128, and we have everything 128 to current. And I'm going to start posting the back issues of our episodes just to have on there. So everything's working. Everything looks good. It's actually really good because it allows us to control a lot more what's going into YouTube, into iTunes. I don't want to confuse you. It allows us to control what's going over to iTunes with our episodes. We have a lot more control over what's going over there. And it's kind of nice to actually have my hands on the inner workings of what's going on, because then it gives me a sense of comfort in that I know I can make changes if I need to, and I'm the one controlling it, as opposed to Blip. You just you send it over there and hope they're doing what they're doing, and you hope it's all done right. But yeah, the cutover went smooth. Everything's there. The only issue is the back episode. So if you are subscribed to our channel in iTunes, you may start seeing the reappearance of episodes that you have already watched, because I'm going to be uploading, and so that may signal that there's a new episode in there, even though it's an old one. So just basically look at the episode numbering, and we're on episode 135 now. So anything,
134 or 135?
No, it's 135.
Oh, I got two different numbers.
Yeah, It's episode 135. I know because I've been doing all of the prep for this episode. So we're on 135 now. Anything prior to that, if you have already watched it, just ignore it. But I'm going to try and get back to at least the start where I started being part of the podcast. And then we got a couple episodes that were kind of special episodes, like Ranch of the Oaks, our visit to that location that has the fiber mill and stuff. That was really interesting. And then I'll do Don's first episode 1.
No, that's...
Just so you can see how far we've come with the podcast. So anyway, everything, like I said, everything went smooth. I'm really pleased with how it worked out. And like I said, we're just going to self-host it, and it should be no issues. We're still going to use Blip to push to YouTube and Roku, but if we can move that off entirely, we'll just not use Blip at all. That's kind of where I'm aiming towards, is just kind of wrapping that up. The big thing was iTunes, just because of the deadline, but now that I'm feeding to iTunes off of our own hosting, and then on the wolffarm.blogspot.com blog post, I'm actually going to be feeding to that as well. So we're taking away whatever was posted into Blip as much as we can. The last remaining things are the YouTube and Roku. If you actually have your podcast set up on your iPad or whatever in the podcast app, and you want the RSS feed directly to us, it is, I'll have it up on the screen here. It'll be in the show notes as well, but it's going to be http://wolffarms.net/podcast/feed FEED equals podcast. That is our RSS feed. So you could actually plug that into your podcast app or anything that does RSS feed management or subscription. You can plug that in, and it'll tell you when there's new episodes. So because we're in control of that, we can give that out, and you can kind of grab it from there, and watch, set it up however you like, so you don't have to. There's so many different ways you can get them. We're trying to cover all the bases. So like I said, so that being said, we're good on the podcast stuff. So we're going to show up in iTunes. We had one episode that never went over from Blip to iTunes, which was 131. It's actually now there because I'm in control of it and I can do it. So we should basically have everything going. But I just want to caution, it's going to take us a while to get the back episodes in because of the amount of time it takes to upload them. There's a large amount of files that need to get uploaded, and I can do about 4 episodes a night. I start it when I go to bed, and I wake up in the morning, and it's just finishing up. It just takes that much time. It's a couple hours per episode to upload because our upstream file on our internet service provider is really small. And so at this point, it'll just be like 4 episodes, whatever, at a time, and we'll get them up there, but just be aware that you may start seeing old episodes as new until we get them sorted out in iTunes and uploaded. So, yay. I was very happy when I got it all wrapped up. I wasn't sure how the cutover was going to work, how Blip was going to handle it, how iTunes was going to handle it. It was kind of an unknown, but everything worked out fine once I got our new RSS feed posted into Blip, and they got things converted over. So yeah, that was a big hoorah on Friday when I was getting things dialed in. So yeah. So I was holding off to the end just in case something broke, and I didn't want to mess people up who are watching last week's. I wanted to give it some time for them to watch, and so yeah, you probably already noticed if you watch on the weekends. So. But starting Friday, we were now self-hosting our own podcast. So.
It also rained on Friday, which was nice. We actually had some weather.
Yeah, remember I mentioned, how we were on a drought and you guys were getting all that snow over on the other coast?
Still getting snow. It's just
Well, and I said, please send some this way. Thank you. We actually got a couple days of rain, which was really nice. A lot of rain. It actually, it came and it was pouring Friday and even Saturday.
3 inches, I think it was.
But here's the secret. It's a good thing because I like photographing with clouds, and it worked out really well. That's why we have a picking on the farm I can talk about later. But yeah, so we actually got got a nice pour, and the ducks and the geese, they're happy as can be. They just all over they're going places they never gone before because there's a new puddle that's further out. So they're like, I'm like, what are you doing way out there? They never go that far. They're like sampling the water. Water on the other side of the fence, always better, right?
So you've been cleaning the garage?
Oh yeah, I just been busy. We've been in this house for 7+ years, 7.5 years now. Yeah. We have never parked 2 cars in the garage. So I had I'm going to clean up the garage. I'm going to get it so that we can get both cars in the garage. And woohoo! I think, what was it, Friday? Was it Friday that
It was before it rained, so Thursday, because you had Wednesday off.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Wednesday. Well, Wednesday you'll hear about later. But Wednesday I was home and actually got all the stuff sorted out and put away or tossed into the trash or whatever. I can fit 2 cars in my garage. Yay! So yeah, that was a big accomplishment. I actually started it last week, and I didn't really talk about it, but I finished it Wednesday. But we can now get 2 cars in there. Yeah. So roomy, less cluttered. All my wood stacked. The longest time I had a pile of wood in there, my woodworking wood, and now it's organized now. So I just hope I don't need the board that's on the bottom. Yeah, so that was my my stuff. So let's get on to a note of a little more seriousness.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start because we haven't mentioned this, and because we didn't know anything till this week, I didn't want to worry people. But a month ago in January, that just sounded weird. In
January, a month ago.
I actually found a lump in my breast, and doing a self-exam, because I have always done them because I do have breast cancer on my dad's side of the family, although supposedly that doesn't matter. So I've always checked, and I found a lump, and Fuji's actually been on my lap this whole time, and she's like snoring, and so that's why I always support Knitting Den and Knit Nerd in their October Pinktober, and it was like, whoa, there's actually something there.
Well, you found it, and we were kind of talking about it. It was right when you were sick. So we weren't sure if it was a lymph node or whatever. Yeah. And so we were like, give it a day or two. We didn't want to wait too long, but just see what happens. And you started feeling better, but it didn't go away. So I made the appointment with my doctor and went to her. And the whole time you're still thinking, let it be in my head. Let this be in my head. I told him I was really nervous about talking about this, but I want to just really, really stress how important doing the self-examinations and finding things early and dealing with it early. Because the first thought you think is, I'm not going to go, I'm just going to ignore it. It'll go away.
It'll go away.
Head in the sand.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
So I went to my doctor and she felt it. And, your first reaction is, oh crap. And, she actually scheduled me to a hospital an hour away from us because they're quicker, she said. She says if they did it locally, that it would take 4 weeks just for the mammogram, and then if I needed to see a surgeon, then just a whole rigmarole. I would have to go down there anyways and redo all this. So she sent me down there, I think the following week, and they also set me up for an ultrasound, which... thank God they did, that she did both. Why I go to this doctor is she is very good at doing as many tests as possible.
She's very thorough. Yeah.
Some say she over-tests, but hey, when you're dealing with something like this, you want the answers.
Want to make sure, yeah. Did you get
So
everything?
we went down there and they did the mammogram. They didn't find anything. Which, boy, do those hurt. Then they did an ultrasound, and that's when it showed up. The lump did show up. So we were blessed that they actually had a radiology doctor, who I don't know who she was. She's pretty, I remember that. But they sent us down there, and what scared the royal kapooey out of me is the mammogram tech told me, "Oh, don't worry, they'll just tell you nothing's wrong." She goes, "But if you need to see the doctor, then there's something wrong." The ultrasound tech comes out and she goes, "You need to sit here because you need to go talk to the doctor." Well, that's when I lost.
Dawn was already freaking out because in the hospital they have cell phone blockers.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting waiting out in the waiting room.
Yeah, because they don't let him anywhere near her.
And so she's going in the back, and occasionally she gets enough reception to text me, and she doesn't like feeling
alone, stuck on
away from me, and so she was already wigged out. And
then I was actually 3 buildings over by the time.
It's a big hospital, and so they came and actually got me when they told you that, and then
because I go, I'm not going to see that doctor until I have my husband with me, because now I'm freaking out because they said, "Oh, don't worry unless you got to see the doctor," and I'm like, so yeah, at that point they knew it wasn't a cyst, which I was kind of hoping it was, because then it's just a quick needle, draw out the fluid, you're done. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I know 85% of lumps that they find are non-cancerous, but when you have something, you're feeling something. So I want to, instead of going to all of you and stuff, I really wanted to, my thing this year to myself is trust. So I really turned to God during this time, and because that's who could do anything. Keep me calm. Did lots of meditating on Bible verses. I know I have a wonderful app. It has it's blue app with a white fish that you can plug in all your memory verses. And that's what I had in that ultrasound room, which is like a friggin' freezer. I mean, they gave me 3 warm blankets because it's so freezing. But that's the only thing I could access. And, thank God, literally, I had his word there to go over with, because you're stuck all alone, you're scared, and he will always be there, no matter what, he is right there, because his spirit is in you, it's not going to be taken away. And so then the one doctor, that we finally went to, she said, "Oh, don't worry." They all tell you don't worry.
Well, they were saying
it's easier said than done.
They were saying, that she says that it's very small, whatever it is, and the likelihood, they don't think it's anything, but they need to be 100% certain. And so even if it's 99.9% sure that it's not, they will still test. They want to make sure 100% that whatever is shown in the mammogram or the ultrasound is not cancerous, because it's always better to get it sooner than later. So then we went to another nurse, and she scheduled me for a ultrasound core biopsy. So they're doing ultrasound at the time that it's all So
and then that was a whole week later, which was last week?
It was not last week, the week before. On Thursday.
Yeah. So I feel sorry for James, because he's taking days off for Fuji. He's taking a day off for me to go to, because it's far down there, and so we go to that, and that was an experience. I'm still dealing with it, and at least now I can move. Yeah.
They said they have all these things. They sit you down and tell you what's going to happen, beforehand, and kind of talk through that whole process, and then all the stuff you can't do for so many days, and this, that, and the other. And they go over. They're actually really, really thorough. Everybody there was really excellent. But they were aware of all of Dawn's allergies and kind of went through
yellow
all
flags
that.
tagging me with certain bands because
So.
I'm latex. I can't be anywhere near it.
Yeah.
I'm a redhead, so I'm going to be a bleeder. I don't heal quickly, and I don't numb. So the doctor, he was ready with all these because they numb your breast. Yeah. And they tell you a little pinch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so they were really good, and then, like I said, I was out while they were doing the whole procedure with Dawn, and one of the things that they do when they're testing it, so they can mark where they actually found the lump, is they actually put.
I was going to get into the procedure.
Oh,
because they actually do a cut, and
Yeah.
we were discussing just having stitches instead of the tape stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they put some of the tape on me to see how I would react, and they were putting everything on me to see how I would react because they didn't want to give me stuff, and I actually did react to the cleaning solution, when they're sterilizing the environment for the surgical part, and so yeah, they were excellent. So they actually took 5 tissue biopsies, and they tell you it's going to sound like a little pin click. It sounds like a shotgun. You're ready for it because you're ready to hear the little pin click. And they have the big ultrasound machine, so you can, because I didn't want to see all the needles and stuff. So
you're watching the video
but I can see
monitor.
on the video, the huge needles going in, and then you hear this kabam like a shotgun, and that's extracting tissue. They did 5 tissue samples, which they were 2 millimeters of. And see, I'm totally thinking of my needle sizes when I'm doing this, and so they did 5 of those, and he actually said he got the lump and more.
Yeah, it was small enough that the biopsy removed everything that was there.
Yeah. So, but at the end of this whole, rigmarole, because they kept making sure I was still numb. Really, the ultrasound is what because they're pressing so hard. That's what actually hurts. So once they're done extracting all the tissue and stuff, and they were all so humorous. They actually made it fun, if you can say that. But then they put a
titanium
tag, and they insert that where they took out the tissue. So I have boob bling.
She's got her piercing, her
My
titanium piercing.
yes.
Not that anyone can see it unless they X-ray her, but
Yeah, and I won't set off airport alarms or anything.
yeah,
But they put that in there in case they need to go back in to clean up the area or remove more. So
basically what they're saying is, even though the biopsy removed the mass that they were looking at, that if it came back as cancerous, they need to know where so they can go in and go in and make sure it's all gone. So they put this little marker in there so that they can go back and determine, because when they remove it, it's gone, so they don't know exactly what area it was actually in if they don't put something there. So
and the tech, she actually has 4, she's had this done 4 times, so it was actually calming to hear her story too,
speaking from personal experience kind of thing. So
then they smush your boob again, they do a 10-minute compression where this nurse,
keep it from
pushing,
bleeding and stuff. So.
Yeah, and then they do a mammogram to make sure the tag is in place, and then you ice pack forever.
And then you wait.
And then the wait. And they tell you, and then we actually had an appointment a week later.
Yeah, they set up an appointment after
with
that
the surgeon.
The surgeon to sit down and discuss the results. And so it's
that was supposed to be this
last Wednesday is when the appointment was scheduled. And so, we're like, okay, I'm thinking, okay, it's now a waiting game. Dawn's going to stress. But actually, recovery distracted her from pretty much, because she's been sore since that, and you're still having a tough time getting things. I know it's eased up on you, but the couple days were pretty tough. So that being said,
so Monday I get a foot. This is the Monday before this Wednesday. I don't know the dates.
Would be
the 26th was my appointment, so the 23rd, 24th.
The Monday that our last podcast went up.
Yeah. I get a phone call and she says, "This is nurse yada yada yada." I thought it was a BS call from Kaiser, And she goes, "This is the surgeon's nurse yada yada yada," and I'm like. And she goes, "Wanted to tell you your test results. They're negative." Well, she goes into this long. It's a fibrous. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I have no idea what she said. It's benign, and I'm like, go, "Wait a minute."
Fibrous something or other.
Yeah, I go, "Wait a minute. I need to sit down." I got so lightheaded. I thought I was going to pass out. So I sit down, and I'm like, "Now what?" And she goes into this whole spiel of this long name, blah, blah, blah. I registered benign, I'm thinking, okay, that's good. And I'm like, English, just say this all in English. And she started laughing. She goes, "I know." She goes, "You don't have cancer. You don't know how."
Relieved.
It still took me all day. I was in just shock. Total dumbfounded shock. Just like our bearded dragon kind of just sits there and goes, it's like, whoa, So then she starts going into all this stuff. She goes, "You're going to be recovering for a month and, to still take it easy and, leave the bandages on till they fall off because they're worried because I don't heal that well." She goes, "To keep them on as long as possible and, because they don't want that incision,
infected or otherwise."
So that's why I'm waiting till now, because actually there's something to say.
Yeah, we know.
There's been so much just waiting. But I wanted to really stress how important
self-exam and just
early detection. Because James had a coworker. Well, she's still alive. That sounded like
a lady that used to work for me.
Yeah, waited.
She had issues and she was ignoring it. She ignored it for the longest time, and finally
until it was oozing.
Yeah, she actually had gone out and had to have it removed. Surgery. She actually didn't have her breast removed, but she had the surgery to remove the cancer and stuff. But she had waited so long that it had grown to the point where if she had gone in the first thing, she probably would have been better off. And since I moved on, and she actually had a second bout of it, and it's probably resulting from her delaying the first time that it's the
because
prognosis.
They told me even catching it this early, if it happened to be there's this we can do, there's so many types of breast cancer too that I didn't even realize that they treat different ways, and so it's
so like I said, self-exam, check it out. Don't delay. If you see something, play it safe. Better to be safe than sorry. I know Dawn's been stressed for the last month because we've been going through the testing and waiting and the not knowing. Like I said, unfortunately for us that it came back negative, but had it not, if we had delayed, it only would have gotten worse. Yeah. It makes it that much more harder to address and to basically get it cleared up, and so everything's good. We didn't want to get everybody worried also waiting and not knowing. It's like we'll wait till we know something, then we can at least say one way or the other, so like if you do, we're probably going to have to stop the podcast in the wolf farm just so that we can deal with that, but fortunately we're still here. So
because we had really been discussing that
because it's Food says, "Not the podcast. I like being on TV." But yeah, so we had, kind of, it's time management and everything else. It's like we just wouldn't have time if we were dealing with that. So fortunately, it's, you probably got another couple weeks of recuperation, but,
It's really been driving me nuts not being able to work out.
But the upside is she's getting her knitting projects done like you wouldn't believe. So with that being said, do you want to, is there anything else that you want to cover on that? I think, like I said, I think that, the importance is if you think you find something, it's better to go into the doctor and have them check, just don't ignore it. Like I said, it only gets worse if it really is something that needs to be addressed. Either way, like I said, at least if it's not, and if it is, then you have to deal with it anyway, sooner or later. So that being said, you get to see all of Dawn's hard work while she's been on the couch recuperating from her biopsy. So
yep. So
in the coop.
First, I've still done my weekly squares.
Your scrappy happy blanket.
Yeah. I know. I couldn't think at first whose squares these were.
Oh.
They're orange made squares that she sent me. So there's 7 of these. So that's one thing, and I do these on size 2 needles. So that's my weekly allotment of squares.
Moving right along.
I'm still flustered, trying not to break down and
it's okay.
Breathe.
Yeah.
So then I started, last week I showed you the Cassis by Thea Coleman, and this was a gift from Crafty Girl 83. She just changed her name this week to Dana of Unwind. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. And this is the Cassis. And I'm doing this out of, I just knocked, I know what I knocked. I'm doing this out of Dark Horse Fantasy yarn. It's an acrylic nylon blend, and it's in a pretty rose color. There we go. And I love this yarn. It's really, really soft. Just did a little bit of knitting this week,
Just a tad.
I should have actually measured this. You can see.
This is the Dicky Doo.
Well, I even got to pull it back.
Yeah.
That's
one of the projects.
This is one of my projects, yeah. I am actually to the point of separating for the sleeves. So, yeah.
And you were saying everything numbered out right?
Yeah, I was like, ooh, my numbers are all right.
All the increases and everything and whatnot that you're doing, it all worked out. Both the right and the left side are doing the same thing. So.
And I got freaked out this week because this is actually the collar, the big shawl collar, thing. And I'm knitting, and I had like 4 inches into the back, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the back. And I'm like, if this is flopping over this way, I totally got freaked out. I had to read the pattern out loud to him, and I'm like,
yeah,
because I thought I was knitting on the wrong side. Because you're actually looking at the wrong side for the shawl collar, and the right side's on the wrong side.
She gets a little too close to the project. Sometimes she has to explain it to me, and it all kind of works out in the end. And
then the night before, here's the pretty lace thing that goes down the front. Well, there's a lace panel on the back. Well, this is the back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I not read far enough into the pattern? Because I know some patterns have things that say, and at the same time you should be doing this, and I'm like, oh my God. But this is where the collar is going to hide it anyway, so she doesn't start it till further down. So I'm like, but I had 2 knitting moments which scare the pooey out of you. And I have 2 counters because one is for the pattern repeat and one is for how many increase repeats. So it makes it simpler.
Yeah. Glad you can keep track of it.
Yeah, I'm loving this. I think I'm doing this on size 7 or 8, whatever I got gauge with. 7. US 7. Hi, Hayas. So that's one project I've just been having so much fun with, and because there's a lot of knitting, but yet there's just that little bit of lace and fun stuff.
A little bit of everything. Huh?
Yep. And then my magic cake ruffle shawl. I had just a wee bit started on that last week too.
It's funny when Dawn's working on the magic cake, the ruffle shawl, she'll start pulling yarn out of the setter. I wonder what the next yarn is.
Because I don't remember what color comes next, and I'm like,
I see this big old barf of yarn on her lap when she's in there knitting on this. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I don't remember what's the next thing coming. I'm like, just knit.
Yeah, because it's like you're like wondering what color is coming next. This is done on size. I can't see that. Oh, US 5 is upside down. And this is by Paula Emons Feasley. She's our designer for another month. That's the Magic Cake Ruffle Shawl. And here is my progress.
That's right, because you just had the
I just had that much last week, and yeah, I'm just starting to get into another color, so yeah.
Pretty cool.
And this is a real easy watch TV, because you know where the increases are, so you just, but this bit me here, because I could see, because you change color, I mean, it's obvious, you do something different at the color change. I immediately saw it was going to be a color change, because I had like 1.5 foot of yarn, so I purled, and I'm like, uh-oh. I had to purl this whole section, which should have been just knit, garter stitch, and I'm like, oh.
She's too precise. I'm like, no, you should have just returned back all the way, even with the other color, and start with the knit.
But yeah, so don't do that. So this whole section.
I was gonna say the color change will blend in anyways, right, with the pattern and stuff.
Because this one went a little too long, but that's just me being nitpicky.
Nobody's ever gonna notice.
Yeah. So, but fun pattern and. Yeah,
one of those.
I keep pulling out the yarn to see what color's next because I don't remember what I put in there. Yeah, it looks like spaghetti. So, I think that's all my projects.
All in the coops.
In the coops.
Yeah, you getting a lot done on that.
I got a lot done on that sweater, yo.
Yeah. Having fun with it.
I'm having fun. But there was a couple days I couldn't knit at all. I just held it. It hurt to knit. Yeah. Because you wouldn't believe how many muscles are in your boob. It's like, and it's the teeny ones, just like barely.
Slight movements and.
Yeah, you just feel pinch.
Yeah. No, you're getting around, but I keep having to tell her that she needs to wait to start the workout again. She gets to start easing into it this week, so yeah. So we'll see.
I get off my couch arrest.
Yeah. I told her I was going to duct tape her to the couch, and so she's behaved.
Yeah.
She's been a good redhead.
Well, because when he's not here, I have the other little.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Jimmy's very. Well aware of the restrictions, so he makes sure that Dawn sits down and knits.
Yep.
So he's good.
Caught up on Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And you'll see later a lot of podcasts. So picking on the farm.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn now. Like I mentioned earlier, we had some storm come through, and so I was like, I want to go out and use my new infrared camera. I told you about it last week. I'm like anxious to get out there and use it. I'm like, okay, I got to work this in. And so Saturday I went out and threw the gear in the truck and went off because it was muddy and raining and everything else. I thought, well, hopefully I don't get stranded. But went to a couple areas that I had kind of wanted to photograph. Out where we're at, you've seen pictures I've shown before of just kind of the desert landscape. For those that aren't in the desert, it probably is like, ooh, look at that, that's neat. To us it's like, and that's... So I have areas that I put in the back of my mind, like, okay, that's an area I need to go photograph, because we have these buttes that have really neat rock formations. And so I'm going to head that way. I'm going to get some pictures and get the nice cloudy sky and use the infrared, play with it, because I'm just playing with it. I'm learning how to use it, because it's different than normal photography, because the exposure is different, because you can't see how much infrared light is shining. You kind of have to play it by ear. And so I was out photographing, had making adjustments as I go, just to try and make sure I get the exposure correct. And I also brought out my other camera so I could show, okay, this is what the real picture, a normal camera would take it, and this is what the infrared take it. And so I started putting Instagram pictures up of the infrared shots that I was taking, just to kind of get going. But it was pretty fun. So I did the trip out there, and I wanted to show. I did a little video so that I could kind of talk this through. So just give me a brief moment. But basically, in the butte area, I went out. I took a picture. Took a picture with the my normal camera so that you can get a sense of what it was. It's really interesting to see what comes straight out of the camera on the infrared is actually really odd. You have to take it into Photoshop and make some adjustments to really get that infrared look, because I have the infrared color conversion. There's still color that comes out. And so side by side, these things, it's like, ooh, you could really see the difference, what infrared does. On live plants, it turns everything yellow. On a non-color infrared, there's like different filters you can get. I have the color one, which gives more flexibility, but they have ones that just, are more extreme, but only do black and white. But I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. I got to go out and take pictures. So everything that's green turns like yellow. There's still some blue in the sky, but the sky can turn completely black. And it really it's interesting, because you don't see that way. To see what the camera picks up is different than what you would normally see. But like the dirt, there's no color, because it just, it reflects no color, because the infrared and stuff, there's no, I guess, absorption of that light in there, and color is radiated from the light that's reflected on it. So anyway, so I got out there and was doing pictures on Saturday, but I wanted to kind of show you some of the images that came out of that, because it's just really, it's kind of gets that surreal look. And out in the desert where we're at, there's not a lot of green stuff right now. We're coming out of winter, so the trees haven't really started. I mean, we're just now leafing.
We don't normally get too much green as it is.
Well, it's like I said, there's areas that have trees that I wanted to go photograph. They're still, asleep, dormant from the winter, so there's no green. And really, when I'll have to take this down to LA and take some pictures there, because everything's green in LA all the time. But try and show you a sense of what it does. It makes this really surreal look, but enjoying it. So I wanted to show you some of the examples that I had done this Saturday, and hopefully you'll enjoy those. I'll get more up as I go out through Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can see kind of what's going on photographically speaking. I'm Wolf Photos, WOLFEPHOTOS. on Instagram, so you could follow me there, and you can kind of see as I come across new and interesting pictures that I go through. I'll put them up on Instagram, so you'll have some new eye candy to look at. So I think that's it. Let me flick it back to you.
Flown the coop. as you can probably see, I'm wearing my Flown the Coop. And this is the Good Dale by Cecily Glowick McDonald. And this was a gift pattern from Blue Ruin, Sadie. And I was able to enter this because there's a bunch of sweater knit-alongs going on, and I keep forgetting to mention them. Put it on the notes. And I know Sock Bunny's having a sweater knit-along, Knit Nerd is having a sweater knit-along, and Pin Hook and Needles. Pin Hook and Needles actually doing it with Knit Nerd. Is having a sweater knit-along. So I was able to enter this in all three, and this is done in Northampton Sport Valley Yarns in the eggplant colorway from Webb's. And I got my coconut buttons. And this was really neat. And I was asked on Instagram what it looks like without, that you can wear it without the little thingy. Scared me. This is another thing that got me this week. I was like, when do you do the little I-cord thing? And I'm like, it's just a little thing that you made. Yeah, so you can actually wear it, with or without the buttons. So, yeah. I feel more like it's not going to fall off as much. And it turned out really, really cute. I'll stick it up. I did it just where it hits the waistband. This shirt is just, it goes long. I mean, see, I can go clear. But yeah, so I did it just where it would hit the waistband because I was thinking more like in the summer. But yeah, and these are little pockets, so I thought that was, so. But yeah, it fits everywhere. And
yeah, well, you're enjoying that.
It was
too.
a fun knit. Fuji came and, of course it's dark and, yeah. But yeah, I love the little coconut buttons. They got little flowers.
Looks good. Finished up, so.
Fuji, she loves coconut. Coconut oils, it's excellent for their body. Just to let them lick some of it or put it in their water. But yeah, she started licking the buttons and I'm like, what is she doing? But they're coconut buttons, so. So, yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. And
yeah, it looks really
super
good.
Fun. So, the finishing took a while because I tacked this whole I-cord edge down because I didn't want it flapping. So that was really fun. And then I'm knocking into you. And then I made for, mentioned last week, Heartland Knits is having a is having a bird knit along. Anything bird, And so I found this Bluebird of Happiness, and it's by Sarah Elizabeth Kellner. And it's a free Ravelry download. It just, all of a sudden, I wanted to knit a bird. And so I got some yarn out, and I knit a little Bluebird of Happiness.
It's funny because Dawn texted a picture of that. She put it in the plants and she took a picture of it, and I'm like, and no text, no information along with it. I'm like, okay, why are you sending this to me? And then she showed me trouble playing with it. I thought, oh, maybe because this is not one she's talked about.
Yeah,
I'm like, I had no
out
clue.
Of the blue.
Like, well, did someone send you a package or something? Send you a bird? So I had to wait till I get home to figure out what it was. But
yeah, it was a really fun, quick little knit. And
Trouble loves it.
Trouble loves it. He keeps stealing it, And Fuji this morning, when she was sitting on my lap, kept grabbing its tail, and putting it in her mouth. I'm like, what in the world? So, yeah, fun little knit. It'd be cute to do little red ones and put them on the Christmas tree, like little bitty cardinals. So, yeah, it's fun.
Like your puzzle that we did.
Yeah. So that's another finished object.
Yeah, you just knock it out of the park. I'll let
something different.
Recuperating time give you project time.
Yeah. So, where are we at? Squeal like a pig. Today, James brought me my weekly Know Me. And this is a little nutcracker.
So, whittling the wood.
Yep. So that was a Squeal this morning.
Yeah,
and then I got a package this week And I didn't post it to Instagram because I couldn't lift it and move things. But this is from Bella Socks, and she sent a huge box
A
of
box full
goodies.
of stuff.
A cute card. And she sent prize. Well, okay, let's first. She sent for my soft yarn blanket. A whole bunch of balls. She sent. There's some pet. I'm gonna get. Sorry, I'm out of frame. I gotta. There's a lot. She sent a bunch of for our Fuji Fight Like a Girl
Pet
blanket
blankets.
collection. We got a tower over here. So there's a purple one. I showed on this side. The purple one, and then this grandma's favorite dishcloth. I love doing that.
That's a simple pattern. Even I could do that.
A little bitty puppy or kitty one. Ooh, gray one. That looks like fun, different patterning in it.
Little squares.
And then, ooh, that's cool. Crocheted one.
Yeah.
And then she sent stuff for that I can keep or
Neat.
use as prizes. She sent some fiber, hippie penguin fiber. I'm going to go through this quick because I know we've been blabbering. This is trifecta Keegan Lane Yarns fiber. There's diabolical fiber. Gnome Acres fiber. It's falling all over, I know. There's some yarn.
It was a big box. Let's just...
Yeah, there's yarn versus zombie, and knit picks, and I mean, just a whole woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy was even like, oh, because he loves orange, and when he was seeing all this orange, he's like, oh, what are you going to do with that? And so that was just so awesome, Aileen. It's like, ah.
Yeah. Don's been talking about it all week.
Yep. So that was just so awesome. So thank you so much. And then now we're in the arena.
Into the arena.
Because I've been on the couch. I have found lots of new podcasts, new to me. The first one, someone had told me about it. I think Polly Knits mentioned the Turbo Knitter, and he's the Turbo Knitter 64 on Ravelry, and I can't remember if that's his Instagram. His Instagram's a little bit different, and he is Kenneth. He has 15 episodes on YouTube, and he's such an inspiration about giving back and charity knitting, and he does a hat drive and to give to the homeless and stuff, and it just hit me, I haven't done that in a couple months, I mean, I've done a lot of the pet blankets and stuff, and it's like really encourages you to give back and to do charity, and so go give him a watch. And then must be the week for male knitters, because I found another one called Brochet, and that's with Celtic Lucas. That's his Ravelry Instagram flirt name, and his name's Lucas. And he has 3 episodes on YouTube, and both of these have Ravelry groups too. And I just found him this morning, and so it was really fun because he's a crocheter, but he's just learning to knit. And he did the grandma's favorite dishcloth, which is one of the one that you did. So it was like, and it's neat. You just want to say, come on, Lucas, come on, Lucas. You want to really cheer for him, and because he mentions the frustration of trying to learn to purl and keeping his needles. He had the real long ones, and don't use those. And so it's like you just want to be his cheerleader, and so that was really fun to watch. And nuts, I got a whole bunch. Poor kitty girl, I keep texting her, today's new podcast is. This one, Erin, you can come and smack me upside the head. You and Kristen. It is called Thank God It's Finished. And I've been in their Ravelry group. I was thinking it was more of a group to finish your projects. Show your whips and get the projects done. That's where I was. I don't know. It's a podcast. She has...
you said she's got quite a few episodes.
Yeah, because I had a major marathon because I'm like... She has Mia, Dewey, and Molly. They Instagram her and Kristen Instagram them. I love Mia, Dewey, and Molly. And he knows who they are because I'm always mentioning because Mia looks just like Fuji. And so I'm like, I cannot believe 20-some episodes.
Bit of a
I didn't
disconnect
know.
there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. So I was so excited because it's like, oh, that's my Erin. That's and she has Kristen on there some, and and I'm like, oh.
Go figure.
Remember I mentioned last week head and butt syndrome. So go watch them. Super fun. She does a lot of stuff. She does a lot of knitting and crochet for hire, and I would go batty.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow.
Like that.
And then from Fibertown podcast, I learned of a new one called Owl Knit for You, and that's owl, hoot, hoot, owl, and then knit for EWE,
You. Like that.
And that's with Rebecca, and she is Evil Twin N2 on Instagram and Ravelry, and I said Rebecca. Okay, and she has 4 episodes and a Ravelry group. And she's fun to watch. And her first podcast. I think all of us do the first. You're so calm. You're nervous. You're wanting to articulate. And then the second episode, she's letting loose. The real Erin's coming out, and so it's fun to.
See, that's why we got to put your podcast number one. Just
that's really funny. So there's 4 new podcasts for you guys to go check out, and they're all on YouTube, and because I've been YouTubing it this week. So, yep. So go join into their groups and have some fun. We have our designer along going on. I opened a chatter thread since this is a year-long, there's going to be different designers every 2 months. We can talk about what we're kind of planning, and so... Go check that out.
Yeah.
So Roundup.
Wow.
We have Hatch and Knit prizes. I almost forgot this week. And that is, Hatch and Knit is where you enter any project you've been working on, no matter if it's really old. If you finish it, enter it in this thread. And every month we pull for 2 Wolf Farm $10 gift certificates. Mm-hmm. So you have, a chance to win.
Yeah. Just by showing us what you've done for the month.
Yep. This month's February. Yeah, February.
What month are these are the winners for February.
Number 19, which is Crafty Debbie, and she did an abalone. That's kind of like a vest top out of handspun.
Wow.
It's gorgeous. So go check that out. And number 281, which is Jenna Marie 13, and she did the Fishnets Fight Like a Girl Fuji yarn.
Oh.
And they look almost knee-high-ish. She really went high. So woohoo!
Happy calves.
Yeah, I'm like, I thought, that's a good idea to really use up all that yarn. So
cool. So
yep. Those are 2 winners. You will be automatically linked from the show notes to know that you won, and just PM me with your email address, and I will get those gift certificates sent right off to you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So,
are we? Is that it? Are we
that's
done?
It. We're done.
Oh.
I tried to hurry through all that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I was seeing the minutes, and
I know
it went longer this issue.
What time?
This issue.
This episode. All right.
But really wanted to stress, what's been going on and let you know, and because I know you guys all of a sudden, because I was just so excited on Monday, to get that phone call. It's like instantly Instagram. It's not cancer. It's like you're probably thinking, what the heck's going on?
Now you know.
Yeah.
So. Okay, well, yeah, that's, I guess, it for this episode. We want to remind you that you can get a free Wolf Farm video podcast button with any paid order at Wolf Farms. Just put in the comment section when you're doing your checkout that you would like us to send one along, and we'd be happy to include that with your order as we're shipping it off.
So until next time,
Let's get cracking
and hash it.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.